Hey, g'day folks, it's Mitch here, and today I am going to walk you through every feature that I have baked into LandScope OS as of about 9:30 in the morning Mountain Time, November 23rd, 2024. And I say that because more features are going to be coming soon. So if you've ever struggled with topographic analysis for either permaculture design or regenerative landscape design, then what I have created is going to be particularly interesting to you because it's totally going to transform your diagnosis and your assessment that goes into that design process. So what I've done is I've started to combine some of, in my mind, one of the most crucial layers for regenerative landscape design and permaculture design. And what I've done is I've written some software so that all of those layers get really quickly compiled into a Google Earth Pro package, which lets you pretty much instantly understand any site's topographic patterns so that you can design for both resilience and abundance. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, here we go. So what I'm about to show you is the LandScope OS outputs for a couple of areas that I have already found LiDAR data for and plugged into the software, and the resultant layers that you're about to see get spit out in a matter of seconds to minutes depending on how big that file is. So it's very fast in actually rendering all of these geospatial layers. The first stop that we're going to go to is just outside of Dunedin in New Zealand, Aotearoa. Let's zoom in here to this spot. Okay. This is one of my favorite places in the world because I did used to live here on the Otago Peninsula. Or not on the Otago Peninsula, but I frequented the Otago Peninsula because of how beautiful it is. Okay, so right off the bat, we have the elevation layer. And we have the minimum elevation and the maximum elevation pointed out there. We can open up this folder and get a little bit more information here. So where or how high that maximum elevation is, how low the minimum elevation is, the average elevation, and the standard deviation of the elevation here. And depending on the digital elevation model that gets plugged into this classification will change. In this case, this standard deviation of about 47 meters is indicating a varied landscape with some more pronounced hills or ridges. The next layer we have is hillshade, so more of a 3D representation of what's going on here. And what I do like about having this in Google Earth Pro, other than the fact that Google Earth Pro is free and easy to use, especially relative to things like QGIS or ArcGIS, which is expensive. And QGIS is a little bit intimidating at first, but you can have a 3D representation of what's going on. So these layers more or less hug the Earth, so you can really see what's going on here. Pretty cool. Now we have a color graded hillshade here, and this just has the same color gradient as the elevation there. So you can see what's going on with a little bit more detail. And next up we have contours. We have contours at 1 meter, 2 meters, and 3 meters. So that equates to about 3 feet, 6 feet, and 9 feet respectively. And next up we have the slope angle and percentage. Everyone's brain works a little bit differently. So we have degrees and percentages down here. We can get a little bit more information in here as well. So not only do we have a percentage breakdown of how much of this particular area or how much in this particular area is in a slope classifications, we do have some design considerations for that slope classification. Next up, we have the slope aspect. And so this is the direction in which the slope is actually facing. And I have chosen to color grade this in a way that it actually represents the microclimate that you would find with that slope aspect. So because we're in the southern hemisphere right now, these warmer colors are on the north-facing slopes, with the warmest being those northwest-facing slopes, cooler colors on those south-facing slopes. And in the northern hemisphere, let's hope I click on the right one here. Yeah, let's go to here. This is also one of my favorite places. This is Nose Hill Park in Calgary, Alberta. Let's change the legend here. Yeah, there we go. Oh, I had the wrong legend on for down south. So, as you can see here, this is those northwest facing slopes are warmer here, and those no, this is the wrong one. There we go. Okay, so we have the southwest facing slopes being warm here, and those north facing slopes being cooler in the northern hemisphere. So turn that layer off, and we can go back to New Zealand. Okay, and this is where I get a lot more excited because of the layers that I've put in here. So this is a layer called the Topographic Wetness Index, and what this does is it highlights the areas that are really wet or where water has a tendency to want to stagnate or pool based on the surrounding slopes. So right here, we have a couple of really dark spots. So that is the areas in which water is going to want to pool if there's a depression, or in this case, which I'll get into in a little bit because of the slope. But because this layer more or less takes up the entire visualization, I wanted a way to take a look at where those wet spots really were relative to the surroundings. So we have the 95th percentile of that topographic wetness index here. We have the 92.5 percentile and the 90th percentile. So when we look at the 95th percentile here and overlay the slope, what we're finding is that this is actually happening in areas. What I also love about Google Pro is you can change the opacity of these layers fairly easily. You can see that there are there's a tendency for water to be accumulating where there isn't very much slope. So drainage is going to be a factor here as long as it's not going into this gully right here where there's already a bit of erosion risk happening. And let's turn this layer off just for right now because I want to show you what this looks like at a permaculture property that is well established. So we're heading to Zaytuna Farm, which is Jeff Lawton's farm. And so what you're seeing here is the topographic wetness index in an area where there have already been significant earthworks done. And so you can see the massive difference between that property I just showed you and this one, because you can see all of these broadacre water harvesting features and these swales being connected, which is so cool to see, and these cascading water systems. And if we put on the next layer here, which is the flow accumulation, this is using one of the more advanced flow accumulation algorithms available, and you can see how these swales are actually capturing that water and how they cascade down slope. And so what I'm actually going to be doing is a full YouTube video on this farm. It's going to go beyond the scope of what this video is, but if you want to catch that, then make sure to subscribe to the channel, even though this is going to be the very first video on it. Okay, let's go back to Aotearoa and we'll show you. I guess we're actually going back to Nose Hill Park. That's okay, because it's all the same. So we have this flow accumulation algorithm right here, which is pretty awesome. But in the same way that this layer more or less took up that whole visualization, it's just loading up right now. It's a lot of information to visualize, especially in such a large area. This is actually I don't know if this is still the case, but I know it has been North America's largest public park, maybe even the world's. But so this is the Topographic Awareness Index here. I'd love to do a smart water design here, which is actually why I rendered this map, so I could start thinking about that, even though the city of Calgary is not likely to hire me for that anytime soon. Anyways, so this layer more or less takes up the whole screen. And so what I wanted to do is find a way to make it a little bit easier to see what's going on in terms of water drainage and still seeing what's happening, relatively speaking, around that. So we have a vectorized drainage layer using a less sophisticated flow accumulation algorithm. But in there we have micro drainage features, minor drainage channels, intermediate, and major. And so what this is essentially stream orders, but at a smaller scale. So if we were to layer all of these on top of one another and see that they're kind of feeding into one another, and these micro ones, the sensitivity for drainage is actually just a lot more sensitive, so that threshold will pick up on all of those little nooks and crannies, which again highlights the importance of having LiDAR data being put into this. And so we can see this back in that one place in New Zealand. Very cool. And so, as I said, this is what I have baked into this just at this moment. New features are coming soon, and I will be updating everyone on that in my newsletter, which there will also be a link for in the description below. Okay, cool. Thanks for that. Now, let's talk about the investment and why these mapping packages are particularly valuable right now. Single mapping packages are currently $500, but I offer bundle pricing for substantial savings. 5 map bundles are 20% off at $400 per map, which saves you $500 total. 10 map bundles are 25% off at $375 per map, which saves you $1,250. 15 map bundles are the best value at 30% off at $350 per map, which saves you a substantial $3,000. Here's how it works. You pay the bundle fee up front, and then I track how many map credits you've used. And here's why the timing is actually really important right now. As I continue to add more layers and more features to these mapping packages, the price is going to increase. So by securing your bundle rate right now, you're locking in that price and you're guaranteed access to those features at no additional cost. This means that when the price goes up for new customers, you're still getting the crazy discount that you've locked in. And so, here's how the bundling process actually works. Before you commit, we'll have a quick conversation about your general working area to confirm that there is heaps of LiDAR data available in that area. And for sites where there isn't LiDAR data available, we can still create these comprehensive mapping packages. It's just a matter of attaining some drone imagery. So you'll just need to provide that drone data, whether that's through your own process or by hiring a drone pilot. And then the same mapping package quality is there. I mean, the drone imagery will have a higher resolution, but it won't cover that ground surface under those tree canopies as well as LiDAR would. If we discover that there isn't LiDAR available or any drone options available, I can hook you up with an SRTM data map, but it's not going to be as high quality. But that being said, it's going to be free and it's not going to go towards a credit for you. So if you're ready to move forward with some mapping solutions, then click the link in the description to book a call with me, or just email me at hello@mitch.earth with the subject line mapping. Remember, these bundle rates will increase as new features are added, and so now is the perfect time to lock in your savings. Have fun, stay safe, and we'll see you in the future. Bye-bye.